YouTube? This is Earl Yoist Garage. I thought I'd do a quick video about reloading. I just did a video about casting the Lee 124 grain 9mm tumble lube design mold, and in some quick information about bullet casting, real basic stuff. So since I cast those up, I've got them tumble lubed with the Lee Liquid Alox, which there's a lot of videos online about the Liquid Alox. Thus far I've liked it. Only used it once, but thus far I've liked it. It's simple. But anyway, so being that we have those tumble lube bullets, I figured I'd do a quick video about reloading some 9mm, running some shells through the press. So this is my Lee Challenger breech lock. It's the only press I've ever owned. I do like this press a lot. I have run thousands and thousands of rounds through it. It's a sturdy press. I really like it. There's a lot of other videos online about different presses and things as well. So looking at what we've got going on here, just basic information. Using an RCBS carbide die, and it says right on there the shell holder to use. Number 16 does not come with a shell holder, so if you're looking for information about dies, you do have to buy the shell holder separate. So I have my 9mm shell holder here. This clicks into that slot right there. Snagged just like that. We got bad light there, right into there. Click that guy in. That holds your shell. I got a shell right here. Sorry, I'm doing this in a weird way because I'll show you shortly. So that's how it holds your shell. So the nice thing about the carbide die set is that it does have a carbide ring set into it. Let's see if I can get a view of it. Come on, camera. There it is. So you can see that ring in there. That is the carbide ring inside the die. Oh, it's kind of hard to see. But the point of that is that you don't have to lube the bullets, the shells I mean, before you run them through. Now, I, as well as a lot of other guys, prefer to still lube the shells before I run them through. I feel like, you know, I can run non-lubed shells through, this one being a lubed one. It'll press through. It's smoother. Pulls that primer out of there. These, for instance, are my box of unprimed, non-lubed ones. It's a bit stiffer. A little bit stiffer. It'll still run. I just, you know, I don't want to fight it. Drop that one. With the amount of shells I generally do in one session, I prefer to not kill my arm in the process. That's one of the things using a single stage press that is beneficiary, to not kill your arm in the process, because, you know, you're doing one single option. At least I do myself. When I'm going to clear primers, I mean, I clear some primers. These have all already been run through the tumbler, each one of them. I try to do quantity in the time, so I'll clear primers, set them all aside, you know, set them up in a way that it's my D-prime sized 45 ACP, so that I know what's in there, and then I'll come back and do the next stage. You know, I'll widen the case mouth in one stage and prime. Currently I am using the hand prime system, came with the Lee kit. And I got this kit at Cabela's. It was very well priced. I think I paid like $125 for it. This was probably 7-8 years ago, something like that. It came with the press, the powder measure, came with the shell holders for the hand prime tool. This is the large, and if you can see, let me see where that's at. It's hard to read. See if we can get her to focus. There you go. It's kind of hard to see that. There it is, large. This one happens to be large. It also comes with a small primer tray. It's a good unit. With this, if you're going to use a hand priming tool, I like to use the primer pocket cleaner. Makes priming them, the shells, a lot easier by hand. On a press system that primes for you, it's a little different situation. You got more leverage with the press arm. So if I'm doing them by hand, I prefer to clean the primer pocket prior to doing it. Now, the kit that I had came with these guys here, and this is like, I forget what they're called, but it's an auto priming tool. I believe, yeah, that is the small, came with a small and a large. So inside of here, which is probably going to be near impossible to see, there is a pin. And that pin is right by that hole. And this piece, if I can get it in there, that hook rests right on the pin. Get some focus. Sets right in there. Should have set up a light for this. Sits just like that. So, you can't see it. But as you ram it down, that piece folds in and it will prime your shell. So to do that, I've got a kit on order from Amazon that attaches into these holes here, and I'll do a video on that once the thing shows up. I think it's supposed to show up Sunday. But you basically, as you come up to, in my case, I plan on sizing the case mouth, and the piece attaches here. You click a primer onto here, and then from there, as you bring it down, you'll prime the case. So I've done a couple by hand, just set the primer in there. It slows me way down, but just to test it out. And you got a lot more leverage with this as opposed to your hand prime tool. But that's also what's in the lead box there, is shell holders for the hand prime tool. This works just fine. I mean, I'll deprime a ton of these cases, fill this thing up. I don't know how full that one is. Not terribly, but take all those. I'll sit down with, a couple boxes of primers in that box and a separate box. I'll just set and deprime tools in front of the reprime cases in front of the TV. Kill 2 hours doing it. So same thing here with the single stage. I'll just sit and deprime for a couple hours at a time. I can do, once you hit a rhythm, I mean, you can really do a ton of cases. So one of the basic things I wanted to touch on is when you set your case in your shell holder, you want to keep it in place, centered. Because if you get it out, it doesn't go up right, you're going to get all kinds of, that case is ruined at that point. So you want to keep it centered. I tend to hold a finger here, as you can probably see, as I run a case up. And that's one of the things I wanted to mention. Keep your fingers out of the press. I was watching another video. I got distracted. I had my finger on the case mouth while I was using the resizer. Not the resizer, excuse me, the case mouth tool here to open up the case mouth. And I stuck my finger right up in that thing. And I had just cleared the case mouth of burrs with this tool. Also came with the kit, so that thing was pretty sharp. So I've got fairly significant cut on the finger there, but I was moving pretty good. I had done a lot of cases. I mean, once you get the muscle memory down, you can really send cases through this thing in a hurry. And I will grab one with my left hand, set it in. At that point, I'm already ready to run it up with my right all the way. And at the same time I'm setting case in my side bucket, I'm already grabbing a new one out of here. And I can almost seat these things in the shell holder, and this is how I hold it generally with this finger when it's not injured. But I'll hold it just like that as I run the case up, to keep it seated centered, especially when you're depriming. You want to keep that thing centered, because if you bust that pin off, you can get new ones, but it's, you know, it's a pain. You don't want to have to go hunt down a new pin for your die. So I think these dies they vary in price. I think the 45 ACP or the Colt was the last one I purchased. Then again, you can see the shell holders, same thing with the 3030. I think they're like around $50, so they're not too bad. I know different ones like this other Lee. This is also a 9mm Lee that I have. This is just a standard steel. This was given to me by a friend, but I think they're a little lower. Those ones do require lubing. These do require case lube, these steel ones. So keep that in mind. I do like to lube my cases regardless of it being a carbide die. So what I do for lubing, and I'll show you here. So I've got my sitting stool. I'll throw a rag down on it. Now come over here, grab a couple handfuls of shells. I'll flatten them all out, get them centered. Another handful of shells, lay them down. And then there's a lot of different ways to lube your cases. These pads, these are nice, especially for rifle cartridges. These casing pads, and then you've got what came with my kit. That's more of a apply a 1x1 situation, or with a Q-tip. This is good case lube, although it's slow to do it. And then you've got the RCBS case lube, or I've got, which I really like, is this One Shot. Shake your can up. This one's already been shook, so what I'll do is I'll just right over top like that. Let it sit. Let it sit for a few minutes, and then I will take the two sides, and I'm doing this video one-handed, of my rag here, and I'll flip it. Open it back up, center them, level them all out. Now I'll be a little more cautious. Oop, there's a bad one. See that? That's why you want to sort your shells. That one's crushed. So I've got a separate bucket over here that I set all my rejects that I use later on. I melt those down into brass bars for knife making on the forge. So set them all out here. Once I flipped it, same thing, just a quick. This is more particular with the pistol cartridges, being a carbide die set. I'm a little more particular when it comes to the rifle cartridges. In that case, I will use the lube pad, case lube pad. I'll roll them on there. You just lay them out in a row, roll it with your hand. A little bit messy, but it works really good. So once I've sprayed them down, I let them sit a minute or a few seconds, 30 seconds between each, just to let that case lube stick on there a little bit. I aim for the container when I'm not doing it one-handed. Throw those in there. Oh, and now I lost the one I was going to show you. Pick this up. So let's see if I can, there it is, right on top, easy to see. So, a big thing about having that centered when doing this is, and this is the only time I've ever actually done it this bad. Let's get in the light here. You can see I crushed that thing. I did not have that one centered. I've never crushed a case that bad, but that's a big reason to have it centered. I've caught my finger in there multiple times, but make sure that case is centered. If you crush one, toss it. In my case, that one's gonna get melted down. So, once you're centered, you know, you can run a lot of cases through one of these presses. especially once you get the muscle memory and you can crank them out. I can do hundreds of rounds in a couple hours. Now it is one stage at a time, which is the nice thing about some of those other presses. You know, those guys are cranking out rounds in the time. I'm just popping primers, but this has worked for me. I'm not exactly, you know, shooting every day or anything like that, but it's worked for me for a lot of years. It's a good press, so something to keep in mind. Don't be afraid of the other presses. I've watched a lot of videos on them. It's all good stuff, especially those turret style design ones, all single staged, not the single stage, but God, I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, those also look like good presses. Now you're gonna put more money into one of those. Keep in mind, if you do get the breech lock, this is your primer catch. It's supposed to fall into here, catch by the plate, but I keep a Tupperware that I screwed into the side here, because you get a lot of missed primers, and even still you can see I've had primers that just tumble out of the thing. Not a big deal. Sweep them up when you're done, wipe them off the bench into your Tupperware or whatever you got here. You could do, even I've seen friends that have one of these pinned over here. Anything like that to keep, you know, catch the things. That's one of the downsides. I used to do this inside when I lived in a place that I did not have a garage, so I had these things all over the floor. It was a pain to clean them up when I had to, but it is what it is. So that was just some quick information, reloading the 9mm after the cast. I'll have another video here coming up that will be loading those 124 grain cast 9mm. Like I said, keep your fingers out of the press. I'd show you it, but it'll start bleeding again. So yeah, keep your fingers out of the way. I got distracted. I was watching another video. And, you know, that's a good way to kill time while you're doing this. I like doing this anyway. It's one of those things, I guess you could say, a lot like reading a book. It just, time goes by real quick. It becomes a mindless process when I'm just one round after another, one shell after another as I go along, and I can really put some shells through that thing once my timing hits. Can't think of the word for it, but once I get in the motion of things and I'm moving quick, I can really put a lot of rounds through this press. So this is a good press. Keep in mind, and I need to clean mine out. I've done quite a few rounds tonight. Keep it clean. It'll start to stick, so keep it oiled up. There's a lot of videos on that as well. Everyone's kind of got different oils that they use. I use a kind of all-purpose oil that's worked good. You can even use some gun lubricant in that space, you know, on your pins and things, your bolts, where it pivots. Keep it smooth so it's not fighting you up and back. Also, like I said, I'm going to be getting the Lee primer system. I can't remember the name of it, but I've got it on order. Should arrive Sunday. I'll do a video on that as well. There are some videos out there. That's how I decided to do it, but I figured can't hurt to have another one. A lot of the stuff that I do, when I start looking up videos on something, I'm doing 2, 3, 4 videos on the same subject, you know, to look for cross information, things that other guys forgot, you know, things that match, you know, each video alike information. So all good stuff to keep in mind. So more videos to come. Like I said, I will get that primer video out there. I just wanted to do a real basic one here, mainly because I crushed that case. I've never done that before in years of reloading, and also because I got my finger stuck in it. I've not seen a video about that yet, so keep your fingers out of there. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.